What's up, guys? Jay Lee here. I want to talk a little bit about feminism, modern feminism, first wave, second wave, third wave feminism, and kind of the progression that happened there, and how it's a detriment to men and a detriment to society. Now, what I would recommend before I get into that is checking out a guy named Henry Makow. That's Henry Makow, Makow, like ma and then cow. He talks about this, and now he's a conspiracy theorist, but you got to use your conspiracy theories, you know, aren't necessarily wrong. Conspiracy theories, it's just you have to use you have to use your rational brain, your intellect. Is this something that's possible? Most people who scoff at conspiracy theories, they don't actually read them. They don't do the research. And what I have concluded over the years, the reason why they do that is because they're afraid. They're afraid that the conspiracy theory is actually going to be true. This is the biggest reason why most people scoff at conspiracy theories, because it's a scary thought to think that there's a group of people behind the scenes who are socially engineering society and who are controlling us and don't have our best interest in mind. That's a scary thought. So I understand why people would not want to look into conspiracy theories, but if you actually do with a rational brain, then you'll probably find a lot of scary stuff, a lot of stuff that actually makes sense. And that's the whole point of a conspiracy theory, is that if it makes sense and there's evidence and there's proof behind it, it's probably true. And unfortunately, we live in a society that is run by very messed up people. Now again, you can do your own research. Look at David Icke, right? Look at Jeremiah Cohen on YouTube. David Icke got pulled off of YouTube. I wouldn't say follow Alex Jones because he's a sensationalist, but some of the stuff he says is correct. But he's he's a provocateur. He's a sensationalist. But there are rational people. Look at Bill Cooper, right? There are rational people out there. So I would recommend on this topic of feminism to check out Henry Makow, and he has a website, henrymakow.com. And he talks about how cultural Marxism and communism are being used by the elite in a subversive way, and this happens at our universities, this happens at our colleges, to really brainwash women, young women, with propaganda against men. A lot of it is unfounded propaganda. A lot of it is really just a brainwashing narrative that, I challenge people to look into how and look into the reasons why, right? I mean, the Industrial Revolution is a big key, is a big hint at the whole puzzle piece, right? There's a lot there. And of course, they've taken that narrative that men collective are oppressing them. Maybe some men in power, but back in the 1920s or whatever, were oppressing people, but I think they were oppressing all people. I think they were oppressing men, children. They weren't just oppressing women. So the feminist movement really, after first wave feminism, because I support first wave feminism, at least sort of, right? Because it's like, what have they done with their freedoms? What have they done with their right to vote? What have they done? What have women done with all that? Well, they've used it to attack men. They've used it to gain leverage. They've used it to exploit us. They've used, and the irony out of all this is hypergamy has never changed. The irony of all this is female nature has never changed, right? So women say they want equality, but that equality only goes so far as themselves. That equality only goes so far as their own personal wants and needs, etc. And once they get that, then they don't give a shit about equality anymore. Equality only is for women, really. They don't care about men being equal, because in their eyes, the men are the enemy, right? And that's what feminism has done, is it's turned women against men. And this is evident, from 1960 to 1980, divorce doubled, right? Literally doubled. And this was second wave feminism. Now again, in an objective way, I agree with first wave feminism. I agree that women should be free to marry whom they want. I agree that women should be free to do what they want in society. They should have the right to work. They should have the right to vote in an objective way. Now, like I said, unfortunately, what have women done with those freedoms? They've used it to, attack us. They've used it to be in competition with men, and they've used it as an excuse to cast off morality and cast off ethics and cast off traditionalism. And unfortunately, the results of that are STDs, unwanted pregnancies, prisons being a lot more men and women from single parent households going to prison, committing crimes. So it has harmed society. But there's a reason why that stuff happened, because there was people in the feminist movement who I believe were placed, and if you read Henry Mackau, you can find more information on that, but who I believe were placed where they are because they were purposely like pawns on a chessboard or whatever, right? I think they were purposely placed in certain positions of feminist leadership in order to subvert and lie and brainwash young women. Okay, and what did second wave of feminism accomplish? It accomplished the removal of social stigma behind promiscuity. It accomplished abortion, right? It accomplished women not having checks and balances. Like, I don't have to get married if I don't want to. That's right, you don't have to get married if you don't want to. But getting married is a quality thing to do. Getting married is a positive thing to do for yourself, for your family, for society. Going out and being a slut is not, right? And this is what second wave feminism encouraged, was my body, my choice. I can have sex with whomever I want to, and there should be no social stigma. And of course, we have that coupled with the civil rights movement, and that coupled with the free love movement. So all this happened in the 1960s and 70s. And the result of it was a whole generation that was practically lost to drugs and to loose sex and just total casting off of everything that was normal in society. Now, you could argue and you could say that, well, society was controlling and there's the matrix, and who says I have to just go get a job, and who says I have to. Well, okay, you don't have to do those things, but you know what, it's good if you do, because it's good for the rest of your life. Now, if you decide you just want to be a hippie and smoke weed and go out and put a flower in your hair and do nothing, like, okay, the result of that was a whole generation of like people who blew their brains out on LSD, just totally turned themselves into lechers and debauchery and all these kind of things. Now, it might be fun at first, but that kind of lifestyle doesn't last. That kind of lifestyle is not, that kind of lifestyle is not sustainable. So the whole reason and purpose behind people preaching traditionalism and proper marriage and things like that is for your future and for your safety. Because if you go just do drugs and sleep with a bunch of people, you're going to get diseases, you're going to get messed up, you're going to get damaged, and that's what happened. A lot of people were messed up and damaged, and the result of that was a lot of unwanted pregnancies. So, of course, you got Planned Parenthood there to fix things because the people in charge really knew what they were doing. And what happens when you have Planned Parenthood? How does Planned Parenthood benefit? Well, they get a bunch of fetuses. And what do fetuses do? Fetuses contribute to stem cell research. Fetuses, now some people who are really into conspiracy theories believe that certain things happen with the fetuses. Certain people take the fetuses and feed on the blood and feed on the cells and things like that. I don't know, man. There's a whole conspiracy theory behind that. I haven't looked too much into that, but I believe it's possible. But I know that stem cell research, right? Not only that, Planned Parenthood gets a lot of money each year. They get a lot of money from these abortions, right? 500,000 abortions a year, okay, through Planned Parenthood in the U.S. So that's a lot of money there. I think they also get funding from the state, right? Now, also, you have to consider this. There's this eugenics agenda. The elite, the people, again, if you read conspiracy theories, the people who are really in charge behind the curtains, they want to keep the population low. There's conspiracy theories that this is why there is these viruses going out around there. And this is why vaccination is not good, because vaccinations actually kill people and actually harm people and things like that, right? So there's a lot of conspiracy theories behind this. So I believe that there is a plaque, I think it's in Georgia, that talks about, I think it's in the state of Georgia, that talks about depopulation, talks about eugenics. Again, you can study all this. It's all out there. So I do believe that to some extent, abortion, it benefits those who have a eugenics agenda. So this is all part and parcel. This is all connected, right? They want to encourage, they want to remove accountability. They want to encourage young women to, get abortions and to go be promiscuous, right? Also, there's the porn industry, right? You got to consider that. The porn industry, why is porn legal? It's basically prostitution. But because there's a camera there, it's not. I mean, that's shady. That's real shady and iffy, right? It's $1 billion a year industry, maybe even $1 trillion. I don't know. But porn is very popular now. Of course, today we have free porn, so but people still pay for it. It's still profitable. I think it's still in the billions. So people are profiting off of porn. And that's our young women. Our young women are doing that, and it's ruining them. It's ruining their character. It's ruining their ability to pair bond. It's ruining them. So it's all connected, man. And you have the porn industry, which was legalized, I think, in 78 or something like that. And since the 80s, porn has been pumping out millions of videos every year, and it's like, those are our young women. Those are, would you want your wife or the mother of your children to have done porn? Gosh, I don't know, man. That's real shady. That's real I mean, that's nothing to be proud of, man. But these young girls are proud to be sluts, and this is what feminism did. Oh, I'm proud to be a slut. We have the slut walk to promote, I don't know what the fuck they're trying to promote. Acceptance for being a slut? Like, no, that's horrible, right? Anybody who has any morals, anybody who has any idea of what normality is not going to support a slut walk, right? So, this is all cultural Marxism. Read Henry Macow. This is social engineering. Look up what social engineering is, right? The people behind the curtain, they benefit. They benefit from families being broken apart, because a strong family makes a strong country. And when you have a strong country, it's not so easy to manipulate the country. It's not so easy to socially engineer the country. When you have strong morals and you have strong leadership within a family by the father figure, then you have a strong country. And the people who make money off of our country, they don't benefit from families being strong, right? So, and that's what feminism was, that's where it was addressed to attack male leadership, the patriarchy. What is the patriarchy? According to women, it's male leadership, and it's got all this oppressive narrative that they put on it. This is what women did. This is what these second wave feminists did. They said, oh, this is wrong. This is wrong. You can't have male leadership. It's the patriarchy. It's fundamentally oppressive to women, right? Well, what did that do? It ruined the homes. And now we have kids growing up in these homes where there's, not proper leadership. The father can't put the rules down because the mother is saying, no, that's the patriarchy. So the kids are growing up messed up. Not only that, they put our kids on Ritalin, right, which makes them more messed up. And so what does that do? That causes, if the parents don't get divorced, then the kids grow up dysfunctional, because the father is supposed to put rules down. The father is supposed to be a leader, but they took that out. So now the kids are growing up messed up. The kids are more likely to do drugs. The kids are more likely to go do porn or whatever. And let's say they did get divorced. Well, what's the result of that? The result of that is, feminized young men who are being raised by the mother, because most of the children from divorce live with the mother. That's a statistic, majority-wise. Now, what does that mean? It means the child is growing up feminized. That means that the daughter is seeing the mother extort the father. The daughter is seeing the mother treat the father like crap. So it's bad on bad. It's all bad. the son is growing up feminized because his mother is raising him to be a certain, oh, you got to be, you got to be a feminist, you got to be a male feminist ally to women, treat women, like they're kings, put them queens, put them on a pedestal, right? And it's turning young men into beta men. Into beta males. They don't know how to be males. They don't know how to be strong leaders anymore because they've ruined the family. They've ruined the family unit. They've taken away the father as the leader. Now, prison is filled with young men who come from single parent households. It's like 80-90% of people in prison, or men in prison. I'm not sure if it's men and women, but it's like 80-90% of men in prison come from broken homes. Okay, that's a statistical fact. And guess who benefits from people in prison? Guess who benefits from prisons? The companies who contract with the prison. I don't know if you know this. There's something called prison labor. So there's actual companies who contract with prisons to do certain types of labor, build things, create things, whatever, make products, okay? And they don't get paid for shit. I think they get paid like 2 pennies to the dollar of how much a free quote-unquote worker would make for doing the same labor. So there's a big incentive there to send young people off to prison. Okay, so this is all social engineering. All of this, you can couple this with rap music and the alcohol industry and the drug industry, all these things, CIA cover-ups to bring cocaine into America. You can look up the real Rick Ross. He talks about it. This is all real shit. The people just sweep it under the rug. They just ignore it because nobody reads. So who benefits from prisons? It's these companies. These companies benefit from prisons, and they benefit from prison labor, which again is pennies on the dollar to free workers. So they get insane benefit, or they get insane price incentives for that. So the whole law system is corrupt. It's, this is all synergistic, right? So not many people look at feminism from that angle. You have to look at feminism from that angle, that this is all connected. Feminism produces prisoners. Feminism produces prisoners, okay? Bottom line fact, when you break up the family, when you tear a father away from a family, when you demonize masculinity, you are increasing the statistics and rate at which a child will likely go to prison someday. And what happens when they go to prison? They work for the companies. They work for the people who are contracted. So you go to prison and you get a job. You're not just sitting in there reading books. You get a job. You work, right? Now, I'm not sure if that's mandatory or if it's voluntary. I'm not 100% sure on that. But you work in prison, and what happens is you only get paid pennies on the dollar. So it's a big incentive there. It's a big incentive for them, to put feminism out there, right? So again, when feminism subverts the family unit, and when they say, hey, women are just the same as men, they can do everything a man could do, right? It's not the same, and women are not the same. They do not choose men for the same reasons. They do not do the same things that men do, right? And what is this done? It's wreaked havoc on our society, all for profit, all for division, all to produce the porn industry, to produce the prison for profit industry, to weaken our society, weaken our country, right? And this is what happens when you tell women that they can be the same as men, and when you give them this narrative that men are the aggressors, that men are the oppressed, that men are their oppressors. They hate men, and this ruins lives, this ruins families. This is very evil and insidious, and yes, it's for profit. Yes, the incentive there is profit. It's also to rule over us easier. It's also, right, so look up Henry Macow, and I think I'm going to end it there, but this is just, this is something that I've studied for about 10 years, and I've seen it firsthand, because I've seen the way women are brainwashed, and none of them do research. None of them really know what they're talking about. They're just repeating what the other feminists said. They're just repeating what the other girl said, and it's carefully weaved lies, carefully created lies to get the young girls to do a certain thing. And usually it's be promiscuous. Usually it's not look for the right type of male, not treat a man, not treat a man fairly or lovingly, not seek to get married, or if they do seek to get married, do it in a weird way, or go, be a single mother, and all these things. So all the stuff that we're seeing now is social engineering. All the stuff that we talk about in the red pill, all this is it stems from social engineering. It stems from radical feminism, from cultural Marxism. These things that are purposely engineered to have certain effects in our society. So everything we're seeing is from that planning. Now, in addition to that, we do have female nature. So the people who did this, the people who planned this and socially engineered this, did understand female nature very well and how easily it could be corrupted, how easily it can go astray. Now, female nature is somewhat messed up, I will say that, and I will say at the least it's easily manipulatable, it's easily manipulated, and it did get manipulated, and it did get, corrupted, so to speak, or at least it got more corrupted than it already was. Now, I have my own independent issues with female nature in general, as far as hypergamy is concerned, as far as female mating process and things like that. But if you go back to traditionalism and you say, okay, well, this is, the man is supposed to work, the woman is going to support him working, they're going to have kids, the woman is going to take care of the kids, right? These are traditional roles, and they worked, and there was safety within that. Now, when you reverse those roles, or when you mess those roles up, or when you tell a woman that those roles are bad or whatever, then you have all kinds of chaos. So I might have my personal qualms with that insofar as men being utility and men being the earner, and our only worth is as good as, what we can produce financially, and the house we can afford, and the food we can put on the table. Now that's my independent issue, but that system still did work. Okay, so when you tweak that system, you say, oh, well, women can now do the things that men can do, this, that, and the third, then you got all kinds of problems. You got kids out of wedlock, you got the stepdad phenomenon where the woman has a kid from another man, and she's got to pick a guy who's going to pick her and help raise her kid, which is, when you're raising somebody else's kid, it's not the same effect, right? So there's all kinds of phenomena that comes out of this. But I'm going to end it there. There's a lot to unpackage and talk about there, but that's just something that I really want to talk about from the conspiracy theory angle, and from understanding why feminism came about and the negative effects. I think we all should in the red pill. We should all talk about feminism in the red pill, because we get so caught up in the red pill community just talking about female nature and just talking about how gynocentrism and how society treats females and things like that, but we don't talk about certain real important things that happened in the 20th century, such as the rise of second and third wave feminism, or the rise of feminism in general, first, second, third. We don't talk about that much, but it's important to understand these things. It's important to understand why divorce is so prevalent. It's important to understand how women got to where they are in 2020. So, all right, appreciate you listening. It's been Jay Lee, another Northwest Podcast. Peace.